In the bustling heart of Lagos, where the chaos of the streets dances in harmony with the unshakable faith of its people, stands St. Anthony's Church. To many, it is a sanctuary, its walls a refuge for prayer, its altar a place of miracles. But St. Anthony's is not like the other churches. Behind its heavy oak doors, secrets whisper louder than sermons, and stories linger that no one dares speak aloud. Among its congregation is a figure both revered and feared, Mama Philomena. Her name carries weight, spoken in hushed tones of respect, curiosity, and awe. A woman of great faith, or so it is said. To some, she is a miracle worker, a vessel of divine power. To others, she is a mystery wrapped in the robes of piety. Who is she, really? What lies behind those calm, knowing eyes? St. Anthony's Church is more than a place of worship, it is the soul of its community. For years, the faithful have flocked here, drawn not just by the promise of salvation but by the tales of wonders too extraordinary to ignore. A blind man who saw again. A child who rose from a wheelchair. All by the hands of one woman. But what happens when faith meets mystery? When miracles demand an explanation? Father Madu, the church's newly assigned priest, sees the miracles of Mama Philomena through a different lens. Young, analytical, and unshaken by tales of wonder, he has one goal: to understand the truth behind her acts. But in his pursuit of answers, what truth will he uncover? And at what cost? Kambili, a devoted member of the church, has placed her faith in Mama Philomena, believing that the miracles are a sign of divine grace. But faith, like a candle, can waver in the wind. When her trust begins to falter, she finds herself drawn into the shadows of something much larger than she anticipated. And then, there is Mama Philomena. Her life is a book with pages missing, a story half told. The villagers say she has been chosen, but chosen by whom, or what? As her following grows, so does the unease in the air, like a storm gathering on the horizon. In the heart of Lagos, where faith meets fear, lies the untold story of Mama Philomena. And now, it is time to uncover the truth. The miracles began like whispers, small, almost unremarkable acts that soon grew into something the congregation could not ignore. At first, it was the stories: a man who could no longer see light suddenly finding his way home in the dark, a woman cured of an ailment doctors could not name. But soon, these stories found faces, and the church became the center of something extraordinary. Obi, a man blind for over 20 years, came to St. Anthony's with nothing but hope. His family had prayed, fasted, and sought medical answers to no avail. That Sunday, they came seeking Mama Philomena's blessing. I can see. I can see. The news spread like wildfire. By the next service, the pews were overflowing, and the name of Mama Philomena was on everyone's lips. Then there was Kachuku, a 7-year-old girl who had never taken a single step. Her mother brought her to Mama Philomena after hearing of Obi's miraculous healing. Kachuku's healing cemented Mama Philomena's reputation. She was no longer just a devout woman, she was a miracle worker. While the congregation embraced the miracles, Father Madu remained unconvinced. His faith was strong, but his training had taught him to question what he could not understand. Tell me, Obi, when did you first notice your sight returning? Did you feel anything unusual? Lightheadedness, warmth. There was warmth. It was like my eyes were burning, but in a good way. And then, I could see. That's all I know, Father. As his investigation deepened, Father Madu uncovered inconsistencies. Records of past miracles were incomplete, missing key details about the healed individuals. There were whispers of those who returned to the church later, claiming their ailments had resurfaced. Kambili, one of Mama Philomena's closest confidants, began to notice things others overlooked. The way Mama Philomena seemed to grow weaker after each miracle. The strange symbols she would carve into the candles before services. The prayers spoken in a language Kambili did not recognize. That night, Kambili saw something that changed everything. She confided in Father Madu, telling him of the staff and the symbols she had seen. Together, they began to piece together a darker narrative. This staff, it matches descriptions in traditional rituals, not Christian practices. And these symbols, they are protective, but not in the way the Bible teaches. Father, what if the miracles aren't coming from God? As doubts grew, so did the unease in St. Anthony's Church. The miracles were no longer seen as blessings but as puzzles waiting to be solved. And with each question asked, the answers seemed to lead only to more questions. Faith had brought them together. But faith, when tested, can lead to revelations no one is prepared for. Father Madu's search for answers led him deep into the archives of St. Anthony's Church. What he found was not what he expected. Hidden among baptismal records and lists of parishioners was a collection of letters and documents that painted a very different picture of Mama Philomena's past. Long before she was known as Mama Philomena, she was simply Philomena, the daughter of a renowned spiritual leader in her village. She grew up immersed in traditional practices, learning the ways of her ancestors and the power they wielded. But her path changed when she converted to Christianity after a personal tragedy. The staff, it's been with her all this time. Kambili stumbled upon what she was never meant to see. Behind the image of devotion and holiness was a hidden world, a blend of the old and the new, the spiritual and the religious. Philomena had not left her past behind, she had brought it with her. Father, you need to see this. There's something in her house, something unnatural. Philomena, we need to talk. I've seen the records. Kambili has seen your collection. We know there's more to these miracles than what you've been telling the congregation. They are spirits older than time, Father. They are neither good nor evil. They simply are. When I lost my son all those years ago, I turned to the church for answers, but none came. It was the spirits that answered me, and they have been with me ever since. They work through me, through this staff, to heal and to help. But at what cost? What are they asking of you? They ask for nothing but balance. When they give, something must be taken. That is the way of the world, child. The blind man sees, but he will lose something else in time. The child walks, but her family's burden grows heavier. This is not my doing. It is simply the way. And you think this is God's work? Spirits that demand balance, that trade suffering for suffering. This is not faith, Mama. This is deception. Do not speak of what you cannot comprehend, Father. The church claims miracles, but tell me, how many of them come without a price? How many people have prayed, fasted, begged for help, only to receive silence? At least I give them hope. At least I give them something. If you wish to stop me, Father, then stop me. But know this, you will take from this congregation the only light they have known. And when the darkness comes, it will not spare you. The confrontation left more questions than answers. Who were the spirits that aided Mama Philomena? And how far would she go to protect her secrets? As faith and fear collided, the line between salvation and damnation grew impossibly thin. The miracles that once brought hope and joy began to cast long shadows over the community. At first, it was subtle, a strange unease among the healed. But as the days passed, the blessings turned to curses, and whispers of fear spread like wildfire. Obi's newfound sight was no blessing. He began seeing things, terrifying visions that no one else could see. His nights were plagued by nightmares, his days filled with paranoia. What was once a gift had become a torment. Kachuku, my child, eat something. Kachuku, who once brought joy to her family with her first steps, began to change. Her temper grew violent, her actions erratic. Her parents, desperate for answers, sought out Mama Philomena once more, only to be turned away. The child who had inspired faith now evoked fear. And she was not the only one. They say the spirits are angry. That we've taken more than we were meant to. Maybe these miracles aren't from God after all. Maybe they are something else. The community that once celebrated miracles now feared them. And at the center of it all was Mama Philomena, whose calm demeanor began to crack under the weight of suspicion. With her congregation turning against her, Mama Philomena grew desperate. The spirits she had once controlled now seemed to control her, demanding more from her than ever before. To restore her standing and appease the unseen forces, she turned to rituals far more extreme than before. Kambili, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, witnessed what no one else had seen. Mama Philomena was no longer the calm, serene woman of faith. She was something else entirely, an intermediary between the world of the living and the spirits she served. What Kambili saw confirmed her worst fears. The miracles were not acts of divine intervention, but transactions with forces that demanded payment. And the cost was growing too great to bear. As the miracles turned to curses, the community's faith faltered. Mama Philomena's desperation pushed her further into the abyss, and those closest to her began to question whether she could be saved, or if they were already too late. With the community in turmoil and fear gripping the hearts of the faithful, Father Madu made a decision. He called for a night vigil, a final act of defiance against the forces threatening the sanctity of St. Anthony's Church. It was a call to arms, not just for faith, but for the soul of the congregation. Are you sure about this, Father? What if we're not strong enough? Faith isn't about being strong, Kambili. It's about standing firm even when you're afraid. And then, she arrived. Mama Philomena, the woman they had once trusted, now an enigma wrapped in fear and power. Her presence was commanding, her calm demeanor replaced by something far more unsettling. You should not have called this vigil, Father. The spirits do not take kindly to being defied. It is not the spirits I answer to, Philomena. It is God. And his house will not be a den for darkness. What followed was a battle not of fists or weapons, but of faith and willpower, a confrontation that blurred the lines between the seen and the unseen, the holy and the profane. You do not understand, Father. They demand balance. Without them, the miracles will cease, and the congregation will be left with nothing. Better to have nothing than to trade our souls for false blessings. Father, it's working. Keep praying. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I only wanted to help. I only wanted to bring hope to the people. Then let go, Philomena. Let the spirits go. This is not the way. They won't let go, Father. Not without a sacrifice. Do something, Father. In the name of the Almighty, I command you to leave this place. They are gone, but so am I. Mama Philomena had made the ultimate sacrifice, severing her connection to the spirits and restoring peace to St. Anthony's Church. But her actions left a mark on the congregation, one that would not fade easily. In the battle between faith and fear, the line between hero and sinner blurred. Mama Philomena's intentions had been pure, but her desperation led her down a path she could not escape. And though the spirits were gone, their shadow lingered, a reminder of the cost of miracles. The dawn brought a fragile silence to St. Anthony's Church, but the echoes of the night's events remained. The building stood, but it bore the scars of a battle unseen by most, a reflection of the fractured faith of the community it served. Do you think they'll come back, Father? The people, I mean. I don't know, Kambili. Faith is a fragile thing. It takes time to rebuild, especially after something like this. Mama Philomena was gone. Some said she fled the village in shame, while others believed the spirits had taken her as payment for her defiance. Her absence left a void, one filled with questions, fear, and, for some, resentment. She's gone because she couldn't face what she did to us. Those miracles, if they were even real, came at too high a price. Maybe she saved us. Maybe breaking that staff was the only way to stop those spirits. Or maybe she just made things worse. Who knows what's still out there? In the wake of the destruction, Father Madu and Kambili took it upon themselves to restore not just the church's physical structure, but its sanctity. It was a slow and arduous process, but they believed it was the only way to heal the wounds left behind. My brothers and sisters, last night tested our faith in ways we could never have imagined. But faith is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting in the face of uncertainty, standing firm even when the ground beneath us shakes. Though the scars of the battle remained, the community began to come together. Each act of restoration, no matter how small, was a step toward reclaiming what had been lost. Maybe they will come back, Father. Maybe they just needed to see that the church can still stand, even after everything. Faith doesn't crumble as easily as stone, Kambili. It takes work, but it endures. But even as the community began to heal, questions lingered. What truly became of Mama Philomena? Were the spirits gone for good, or had they simply gone silent, waiting for another opportunity to return? In the end, faith and fear are two sides of the same coin, bound by the mysteries of the unseen. For the people of St. Anthony's Church, the miracles of Mama Philomena would forever remain a story of wonder, warning, and the delicate balance between light and shadow. With the church still standing but its foundation shaken, Father Madu took it upon himself to restore not only the physical structure but the faith of his congregation. He understood that rebuilding trust would take more than sermons, it would require humility, repentance, and unity. This church has seen darkness, but remember, light always finds a way back in. Each nail, each brushstroke, each prayer, they are all acts of faith. And faith is what will keep this church standing, long after we are gone. Kambili, once a quiet member of the congregation, emerged as a pillar of strength. Her resolve and unwavering faith inspired those around her, and she took on the role of educator, teaching the community about the dangers of blending faith with practices they did not understand. These symbols may look harmless, but they carry meanings we do not fully grasp. If we are not careful, we invite what we cannot control. Our faith must remain pure, rooted in what we know to be true. Slowly but surely, the congregation began to return. Though their numbers were smaller, their faith was stronger, forged in the fires of doubt and fear. Father Madhu's sermons became more focused on humility and repentance, urging the people to rely not on miracles, but on steadfast belief. Faith is not about seeing or feeling, it is about trusting. It is about knowing that even in the darkest night, the dawn will come. Let us rebuild together, with hearts open and hands ready to serve. But even as the church was restored and faith rekindled, not all questions found answers. There were those who whispered of unexplained occurrences, candles that lit themselves, footsteps echoing in the empty halls, and shadows that moved where no one stood. Miss Kambili, I found this in the church. Father Madhu said to give it to you. And then there was the matter of Mama Philomena herself. Some believed she was gone forever, her spirit taken by the forces she once controlled. Others swore they saw her in the shadows, watching, waiting. Whatever the truth, her presence lingered, a reminder of the fine line between faith and fear, light and darkness. St. Anthony's Church would never be the same, but perhaps that was the point. Faith is not about the absence of fear or doubt, it is about enduring in spite of them. And for the people of this village, the story of Mama Philomena became a warning, a lesson, and a testament to the mysteries that dwell at the edges of belief. In the quiet of a new day, St. Anthony's Church stands as more than just a building. It is a symbol, a monument to resilience, faith, and the mysteries that defy easy explanation. But for those who lived through its darkest chapter, it is also a reminder. A reminder that faith, when tested, must be rooted in truth. That miracles, though wondrous, can carry a cost too great to bear. Father Madhu, a man of unshakable resolve, became the shepherd of a flock once scattered by fear. His faith was not in miracles, but in the quiet, enduring strength of belief. He knew that the road ahead would be long, but he also knew that the journey was worth it. Kambili, whose courage brought light to the darkest corners of the church's past, emerged as a leader in her own right. Her teachings reminded the community of the importance of discernment, of knowing the difference between the divine and the deceptive. Through her, the next generation learned not just to believe, but to question. For the villagers, the story of Mama Philomena became a modern folktale, a cautionary tale whispered in the evenings and retold to warn those who might seek answers in places they do not understand. It was a story of light and shadow, of the fine line between faith and fear. Do you think Mama Philomena was good or bad? She was human, child. Like all of us, she walked a path filled with choices. Some led to light, others to shadow. But she did what she thought was best, even if it wasn't. Still, some questions remained unanswered. Was Mama Philomena truly gone, or did her spirit linger, tied to the forces she once wielded? The villagers spoke of fleeting shadows, faint whispers, and the occasional flicker of light in the church at night. Whether these were remnants of the past or tricks of the imagination, no one could say for certain. The tale of Mama Philomena and St. Anthony's Church is not just a story of one village. It is a story that speaks to us all of the dangers of desperation, the power of belief, and the choices we make when faced with the unknown. It reminds us that faith must be pure, untainted by fear or greed. And that true miracles come not from what we take, but from what we give. And so, the story of St. Anthony's continues, written not just in books, but in the hearts of those who lived it. What about you? What would you do if faced with a choice like Mama Philomena's? Would you hold on to faith, or risk everything for what seems like a miracle? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder of the power of faith and the lessons of our ancestors. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Do you believe Mama Philomena was a hero, a villain, or simply human? And if you want to hear more tales of light and shadow, subscribe to our channel for more stories from the heart of Africa.